Okay, we're good to go.
Okay, so I'm Michael Doster.
I'm Alyssa Carter.
And I'm Laura Callahan, and this is our presentation on children and families of Iowa. So we will start with the history of our Servant Leadership Project. And Children and Families of Iowa was founded in 1888 by a group of ministers, educators, and laymen on the eastern part of the state in Davenport. Wanted to take homeless children and place them in childless homes. Even from their beginning, they wanted to be the agent that created safe homes for kids and keep families together. So when CFI started out, what they were doing is now what we call child welfare. And since the beginning, CFI has always focused on family first with all of their services like child welfare services, child care, domestic violence, protective payee, juvenile justice, and employment. And the mission and values of Children and Families of Iowa are that they exist to restore hope, build futures, and change lives for Iowa's most vulnerable children, families, and communities.
And the services that Children and Families of Iowa provide, they actually have locations in Des Moines, North Des Moines, Osceola, Ankeny, Fort Dodge, and Ottumwa. And they have domestic violence services, which they also offer a 24/7 hotline. So, basically any time of the day, any time of the week, they it's a crisis hotline, so it's available to them at any time. And they also have teen programs, family support programs, early childhood development, mental health services, like Laura mentioned, and integrated home health services. Demographics: Children and Families of Iowa, they help serve they help the underserved community or anyone seeking help while going through a difficult time, and they vary according to the service provided based on where they are.
One of our first projects was at the Kids Fest. And so basically, what we did there, we volunteered about 3.5 hours of our time working in Toddler Town. And we got to watch um, the children from the age of 2 to 8 and their developmental skills. Like we provided games like hopscotch, hula hoop, basketball, jump rope, cornholes, and we just provided fun activities for them. And no matter if it was just 5 seconds or a minute or however long they stayed there, each child got a prize for just coming out and participating in the event. We also have some pictures on our PowerPoint that showed in the toddler town a few different things that they had. Like they had the animal zoo rides, a big old bounce house, face painting, all kinds of different things. Then another project we did at the daycare at CFI's Child Development Center over spring break was a lot of the things we did there was organization, cleaning and sanitation, stocking, washing windows, dishes, like all sorts of different things that were done. On the first day that I went, I actually got the privilege to work in the duckling classroom. So, like with kids from ages 6 to 18 months. And so it was quite amusing seeing their developmental skills, because you got one that was like really shy, and then the other one who was just outgoing and who was just snatching everything up and putting everything in his mouth, like who devoured his food, and was just really funny watching them. And we also helped them like with their DHS inspection, like get posters and signs cut out for the classrooms so that they would be prepared. So when DHS did come through, they were able to pass their evaluation. And so I will let Laura go into more about the Child Development Center because she had a few other activities that she did while I wasn't there.
Yeah, just to add to that, along with the DHS walkthrough, we also worked on stocking and organizing bags. So they have a bag that goes in every room, and we just went around and refilled all of their bags with supplies. And then last week I was there for a few hours, and since the weather's getting nicer, they were working on cleaning up outside, so I did window washing and picking up trash from their, they have a big playground center outside the back of the daycare. So I worked on cleaning up that yard, and then I did some sanitation of the bottles and the dishes that they use for the youngest kids there. Also worked on sorting through clothing donations and separating them into ages and genders and labeling each of those boxes. And so moving on through our PowerPoint, we have a few more pictures of the Child Development Center. And in those pictures, you can see the work that we did organizing shelves and art supplies, first aid kits, and then there's a few pictures of the classrooms. We will go to Michael for his work.
So I was in touch with Sharon, and she connected me with what turned out to be a domestic violence shelter, and it's essentially just a group home through Children and Families of Iowa. And they set me up there, and basically what I did, they had a little garage out back where a lot of the residents, whether they're basically short-term versus long-term, and I mean, you can notice in the picture, it's just bags and basically Tupperware full of their goods. And, it's a shelter, so they go there to basically seek help and protection. So they have to bring their belongings. And basically over time, this shed just kind of collected with all the things of the residents, and basically just got a little too full. They didn't take much time to clean it out, and it just kept getting fuller and fuller. And a lot of the stuff in there doesn't belong to the current residents. So I talked to them, and basically we decided to sort through stuff, clean it out, and make it available for the current residents. So, I mean, it was pretty messy. The door barely opened, and now there are shelves in there. It's completely free of mice and spiders and all of the other old clothes and basically belongings that were the residents prior. But yeah, so I cleaned that up, and I think they're pretty excited about having that available.
So next we'll move to our project outcomes. Our service hours made a difference in the lives of the workers and the community at Children and Families of Iowa. And we provided many hours that contributed to cleanliness, organization, and the mission of those at CFI. And so when we started this project, I think we all had a little bit mind that we would do for our service hours. But in the end, they needed volunteers to help them with their cleaning and sanitation, and hopefully our work with some more time to do what they need to work hands-on with the kids. Hopefully, the kids at the child care center will stay healthy and things will stay organized.
So some future directions for our work. One thing that we talked about was being more hands-on with the kids. We were allowed that option that we were going to be hands-on with the kids, and then they had other stuff for us to do, so we didn't really get to fulfill that part like we were told. Another thing that would have been nice was like to be a support for at-risk teens, just being able to encourage them, you know, provide resources and tips. So if they are having like a stressful day and where to get help from if they are in trouble, and just being a positive influence on them, just showing that they're able to achieve any goals and dreams they have, you know, with hard work and determination. Last, we put working in the domestic violence shelter, um, like working with the kids, like being able to provide like a nutritional lesson or like some kind of fun activity for them to do, since um, the transition that they are going through is can be very hard, let alone on the kids and the mother or partner, whoever is in the shelter at that time. Um, and then also just, you know, for the adults there who are victims of abuse, just be able to encourage them with self-care, like making sure they put themselves first and get the help they need so they could better assist themselves, and then be of help for their children when they're going through this transition as well. And then our personal takeaways. A few of my personal takeaway from this project was that communication with the organization can be very difficult because you kind of get thrown, you get passed around from person to person, and you're kind of just left hanging, like you don't really know which direction to go because you're just left up in the air. So you're kind of just waiting on everybody to call you back. Another thing is just organization in general, just like with the community partner, and then just as a team in general, just making sure that we're more organized and that the communication is there because obviously we have experienced issues with communication, but I mean, towards the end, I have to say it has gotten better. So, like, I can't complain about that. I think the overall benefit um, from the project is that we got to help the community, um, like with the Kids Fest, we provided a place where we could provide good family memories for families. It was just a fun outlet for them. With the child care, it's like we're helping them pass their DHS inspection. Now the parents don't have to worry about where their child's going to go next or how are they going to find child care. The kids are able to continue to go to a child care center that's clean and sanitized, and that helps with the development for them. And then I guess, Laura, you could go ahead and start with your personal takeaway on it.
Sure. So I guess going off of the communication issue, I think we all kind of fell into this category. But at the end of the semester, I think that it was a good experience for me having all of these communication issues, only because I don't really put myself out there as much as I should. So I really had to take it into my own hands to get a hold of someone and keep calling, and even if they're not responding, you know, find some way to get a hold of someone. And I think that actually ended up benefiting me, thinking about our careers. We're all in the nursing program, so communication is going to be a big deal for the rest of our lives, and I think this was a good experience to kind of strengthen that. And the other thing I had as well was the cleanliness of the children's environment and how important that was. And lastly, what it truly means to be a servant leader. I think that when we went there, we found the priority needs, even if they weren't what we were expecting. and we worked on those priority needs until they were finished. And so I think we got a really positive outcome from that.
Yeah, and so we all touched base with the communication issues, which for me they weren't necessarily as bad because I did the majority of mine at one place, so that kind of made it easy. But still, just kind of hearing back from them, you know, and just kind of keeping in touch and not really knowing what's going on. And you know, we don't want to be annoying and have to like call them all the time, but it is what it is, and you know, they're busy, they have a lot going on. So but basically from the where I did it, the homeless shelter, or not the homeless shelter, the domestic violence shelter, was just like the importance of assistance and in times like that. And you know, like those are very serious cases sometimes, and sometimes, you know, the people that are there long term, and they take a lot of their belongings. And so I had to dig a little bit deeper than just the, you know, me cleaning out a garage, because really what I was cleaning out was all of their personal stuff. And if those girls moved out and that was all their stuff, like, you know, they need to have somewhere to store that. And yeah, that there was a lot of leftover stuff from other people before, but you know, there needs to be room for the people living there. And I'm assuming that there must have been limitations on what they were able to bring, just because the storage was full. So you know, just digging a little bit deeper and realizing that like what I was doing is actually like beneficial to them, and they need, you know, they're in a rough time, and they need somewhere to keep their stuff. So I think really understanding that, you know, everyone needs their space regardless of their situation, and it was good to help them out there. So as far as recommendations for future groups, we've stressed the communication. So creating ways to provide more effective communication would be a good recommendation. Willingness to participate in a variety of activities. So CFI has a lot to offer. There's lots of activities that you can do. So you know, not necessarily sticking to one thing like I did, but like the girls did. They, you know, they tried a couple different things, and CFI, they have, I mean, there's lots of locations, lots of things to do. So that would also be a good recommendation. Keeping paperwork and evaluations organized. There's a lot of papers that we have to deal with, and I mean, not really like 3, but just keeping those organized and keeping the signatures, and keeping in touch with the supervisors and who you need to be in touch with to be signing your stuff, as well as opening service hours on early mornings and weekends. So depending on the service, basically you're also working with the time crunch, and it's basically like what's available to them, you know, because they're working, they have lives as well, and along with the services that they're providing. So just kind of figuring out those time restraints, and basically getting them done. So I think overall we had good experiences. We all 3 did different things. Some of them we got to experience together, but I think for the most part we had a good experience with CFI. So if you guys have anything you want to add.
I also will add one more thing for the recommendation of future groups. Just keep an open mind when you're doing it. I mean, like sometimes while you're doing the project, you might not, you'll probably be close-minded, like, why am I doing this? It's pointless. But when you're done and you actually realize what you did and how much you helped somebody, even though it doesn't seem like you necessarily helped them, but you really did in a big way, more than you even know. So just keep an open mind while doing it. Like, it all pays off in the end. So
Good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think something that seems really small and easy to us is a huge help to them. And at the beginning of the semester, it seemed like a lot, but now that we're finished, I think it was a really good experience for us.
Yeah.
I think we are good, guys.
Good to go.
All right.
Yes, we did it.
All
We
right.
did it.